identify the gap, what is really lacking.
So that you're not coming into the market and giving us what we already have.
Yes, you have to identify the gap of what is really lacking. Then next you have to identify which people need to benefit from you filling this gap, right? After that, then after you've identified the audience for this gap, you identify the characteristics of this audience, right? Now, once you've identified the characteristics of this audience, the socio-demographics of this audience, you're then in a position to categorize the information to give. Then the information to give based on their level of education, based on their age, based on their preferences, or even their social class. You're able to know this is information that this kind of group can consume. This is information that this kind of group cannot consume.
Okay.
Yes.
Another question coming in is, what is the impact of social content versus non-social content? That is at the various stages of the consumer journey.
What's the impact of social content?
Yes.
Versus
non-social content.
The impact of social content, because I presume in this context, social context will mean our interactions, right?
Or rather, let me rephrase the question. So Kevin is asking, to what extent does social content increase or hinder sense of exclusivity? Does that frame the question better for you?
If our social content is more about us as a nation than an individual community, then it creates inclusivity. If it tells stories about one society, the Kenyan society, it increases inclusivity. If it tells stories about, it captures different cultures and tells stories about them, then it increases inclusivity. It makes people appreciate themselves as being part of the larger Kenya. But then if you tell stories selectively, people develop that attitude, they only tell stories of certain communities. So I bet I'm not part and parcel of this, so I move away from it. Yes.
Also, David, with this digital era, you find that now people are also focusing on community radios or focusing on particular tribes. Is it an advisable thing to do, as opposed to having just a national station? Like we have vernacular stations, mushrooming everywhere. Is it the right thing to do?
We must embrace this. We must embrace, and we must be able to, even as we move to the digital platform, we must be in a position to distinguish between vernacular stations and community radios. And what roles do they play, right? And another factor that we must also appreciate is radio is the most used or the most consumed among the traditional media.
Yes.
Therefore, making it an easy conduit or agent of delivering development information. So whatever happens, radio still remains the most powerful tool to diffuse development information, because we are not yet there in terms of digital technology. We're not yet there. We are a third world nation that is struggling to move to the next stage. And we still have high levels of poverty, which then still makes us to define radio or to appreciate radio as the most consumed.
Okay.
And radio as our agent of promoting development in rural areas.
Okay.
Yes.
So it gets to the target audience most effectively, is what you're saying?
Most effectively.
Because with this vernacular stations, it also brings a lot of conflict and hatred when it comes to if they're broadcasting in this particular language, and then they're also, what did they call it? Some presenters issue inflammatory remarks, then this other community gets wind of it, it becomes a big issue. So should we be using one centralized language, or that's what I'm asking, or should we just stick to that because that kind of station gets to those mashinani areas?
You see, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that our presenters and anchors or people look up to use inflammatory remarks when presenting news or talking issues. Media should be a unifying agent rather than a destructive or a conflict-causing agent. So you may find that the intention of this vernacular stations was to promote oneness among the tribesmen, and you may find that, or you may also find that the role of a community radio is to address development issues that are facing the locals. So to be objective, I will advise that these vernacular stations stay, but then deal with individuals who promote negativity in these stations.
Okay, David, thank you very much. We are also going back to the issue of the newsroom when it comes to using these digital platforms. How best can we give out information without necessarily clashing with the government? Because sometimes, you see, this is where content comes in. Sometimes you want to give out information, and the government says, now you shouldn't have put out that kind of information before we gave you clearance. So how do media people do that in this digital era?
Like I said earlier, the best thing to do in journalism to become ethically fit, quote unquote, is be socially responsible. Be socially responsible. Create a balance between government needs and society needs. But if you create a balance, it is high and likely both government and society will appreciate you as a television station or as a digital broadcaster. Yeah.
David, we're talking about issues like corruption here. I get what you're saying. It depends on also the situation, because maybe what you're talking about is when probably there's a terror attack and these people are releasing information, yet the government has not released official figures. But what about when it comes to exposing corruption, exposing the government? That applies as well?
If it comes to exposing the government, make sure you have facts and make sure you have concrete evidence.
And credible sources.
And credible sources. Then that is social responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
Do not rely on rumors to broadcast to people. Do not become a gutter kind of a press, but be that journalist who is professional and ethically considerate.
Mm-hmm. Apart from the Media Council coming in, David, and giving us guidelines on who or what is considered as digital journalism, what do we do with the other crop of journalists who, I don't want to call them quacks, but they're people with a good phone, they're people, I wouldn't even call them citizen journalists, and they have a name, so they're popular faces and popular figures. And now out of that, this kind of exposure that they have, you find that now they're the ones being put on air, they're given this endorsement jobs. How can we streamline all of this? Because it has become a concern. Someone is saying, for example, how long have you studied? To the level, you're doing a PhD right now. How many years has it taken you? A couple. So this is someone who has...
Like 10 years.
Yeah. So this is someone overnight has become a journalist and is actually on air and doing their thing. So how do we deal with that?
I must say our journalism has a problem. And that problem, there has to be a paradigm shift in terms of parameters that define the profession, in terms of the people that we bring into the profession, right? In terms of people that we bring into the profession as journalists, and in terms of the values that define our news, right? In most cases, and that's why our journalism isn't as dynamic, isn't as informative. Because in most cases we tend to pick people from fields that are not related to journalism. Without training them, we give them that opportunity to deliver news to us. And that affects the content. There's one time I said, and also people, for you to interview someone like Miguna, you have to be intelligent. This journalist, Gitonga, never understood what a water table is. And he kept taking Miguna in circus, and Miguna got impatient. So in such situations, we have to appreciate that training is important. Training is what will take our journalism, whether digital or traditional, to a different level. It's not I pick you from National Theatre and I take you in because you have followers. I take you in to present news. That is not the best way. We must consider that we are still a developing nation and we need to take issues seriously.
Because I think, David, the point where we're at right now, people think the newsroom is a joke. Because we can bring in anyone in there, they can talk about anything. They don't even have the facts, and they're passing off as a journalist.
Yeah, so the issue is, even if you want to know that and really understand that we have a problem, we have this particular station that discusses obscene things in the morning or discusses sex in the morning. At the end of people are supposed to be going to work and building the nation. You want to have discussions on sex, discussions on alcohol that you drank over the weekend, discussions on the gigs that you pulled over the weekend. That is not a trajectory of a society that is seeking to develop. I would appreciate, whether digital or traditional, before you come into journalism practice, before those people, even though you have followers, yes, they pick you, take a year or so, take you to a diploma class in journalism, take you to a few professional courses in journalism, and then allow you to come in and present to whoever it is you want to present to. But not that I pick you from National Theatre, I pick you from
a singing contest.
Or pick you from a television program because you're an actress. Then I bring you in and say, you can be able to pull this program because you have views.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, remember the discussion going on Twitter is the media better off after digital migration? That's our poll question. Is the media better off after digital migration? And remember the general topic was the analysis of the state of the media before and after digital migration. In studio, we have David Kaunda, who's helping us with this discussion. And we have just spoken about the do's and don'ts and also the pros and cons of digital migration, and more so how media practitioners should be carrying out themselves in this era of digital media. Then we also have another question, David. Digital influencers, do you think they have taken away revenue, traditional revenue streams from media houses? Because you see, if I am taking you as a personality to advertise my product, then I don't need to go to that station and now tell them, so I'm paying this amount for you to advertise my product. I'm using influencers left, right, and center.
But not really, because there's not all audiences are available online, right? Not all audiences are available online. We still have a digital divide that then alienates audience who do not have the digital gadgets we were talking about earlier. If you look at this, I think the Commission Authority of Kenya reports, we still have a huge digital divide. Therefore, it means we still have a huge audience that it is not part and parcel of the digital community. Yeah, even in the university, we have professors who are old age professors, like the Stone Age professors, quote unquote, who will never use a laptop to teach or will never project
Their lecture.
So that means there are people who do not appreciate the digital movement.
So there's still space for everyone.
There's still space for everyone. All that is there, what matters is how well you package your product. Yeah.
Demystify this statement. So can anyone just come in and start doing their own digital station or reporting? Do we really need to go and have education for it, or you just need the right gadget and a platform and you're good to go? Should we invest in knowledge?
I mean, we should invest in knowledge, but invest in it responsibly. No, because you cannot, if it is about journalism, I'm for training, whether digital or traditional. That is, for me, that's the best way. But if it is for other products, like you want to tell us how to do makeup, how to put on your coat, how to do, if you want to talk about lifestyle, yes, you could talk about it, whether you trained or not. But then if it is informing us about our nation, informing us about our culture, our politics, our economy, and things that touch our lives directly, like our health, get some training on journalism for you to have some clout. There are certain people, I'm sorry to say, to this point I've got to, I cannot sit down and listen to them, because I'll treat that as trash, right? Yeah.
Because they don't know what they're talking about.
They don't know what they're talking about. They're just talking because, hey, we need the show to go on.
Yeah, because David, we don't need a situation where we have a journalist on desk having people like, let's say, the example gave Miguna or a high-profile person, and then they don't even know what they're asking.
Yes,
and
yes.
The interviewee is more knowledgeable than they are. So we have this disparity, and it's also very embarrassing for this kind of journalist. So investing is the way to go.
I mean, yes, you must acknowledge that we have celebrities who do not have a reading culture. They don't do enough research before they come and to have a discussion, or before they come for a news presentation. I mean, and then we always celebrate mediocre and say, I want to be like this guy. But this is a guy who doesn't love books, doesn't fancy reading. How will you we bring a panelist who is well read to discuss with the person who doesn't value books.
Yeah, because it's really sad. We might be sitting here and laughing about it, but you know, that's how these young people are looking at it. They're like, why am I going to school for 10 years to study mass communication or video production or TV production, yet I can just blog or vlog something interesting, trend, and tomorrow I have a radio program or show. You see, so it's really derailing people who actually want, or students, prospective students who really want to study journalism, but they're thinking, what's the point? So you're giving them hope.
Yeah, you must give young generation hope that we can still have objective journalism. We don't need to have journalism that reports to us the number of shoes a particular celebrity has. That is not news to us. Tell me, how am I going to better myself? How is this news going to change my life? We need news that is life-changing, news that has direct impact, not news that this is the number of shoes that I have, or
I just got this endorsement.
I just got this endorsement, or this is how my son looks like, or you want to tell the whole world because you're a celebrity news anchor. You bought your son an iPhone. I mean, that is not development. Tell people stories that will change their life. Then that is journalism. That is journalism that can actually win an award.
Which also...
That's why
yeah.
our journalists, once they leave our local newsrooms, they don't thrive outside the local newsrooms. Most of them go international. Once they go international, they get to 6 months, they're back to local because they don't have content. Because international journalism requires reading, and it requires that you're smart upstairs, of which our celebrities, our celebrity news anchors do not have. Yes.
So what we're concentrating on is the glam and not the content.
We are concentrating on the glam and not the content.
What is your take on journalists or anchors, or let's just say media personalities who question? You know, in our current context, we don't question our leaders. We want to go by what they're saying or agreeing with what they're saying, so we don't question. So I will allow me not to name names, but we have a very popular journalist who questioned a very senior government official, and he was trending for all the wrong reasons, like how dare you address that government official like that? How dare you ask this question? Because I think he was asked, he asked a question to the guy, and the guy answered him with another question. And so he got irritated, and he was like, why would you ask me that? I don't want to I want you to go back to the question that I've asked you. Because you see, we are being told that Kenyan journalists don't question and are not steadfast in their stand. So they tend to go by what the interview is saying. So what's your take on that?
I mean, if you want to investigate someone, if you want to get news, get it objectively. Do not ask questions that are leading questions. Ask questions that will give you the needed information, not questions that are geared towards attacking a personality. That's a problem I think we have. We want to show the interviewee that we are on the driving seat. We want to show the interviewee we are on the driving seat, and therefore you can ask whatever it is that we want to ask. At one point, one person said, "This is my show, and I'm banning you out of this show." That is not the way to do things.
Okay.
It is not the way to do things. I mean, if you want to get something, and if you want to grow somewhere, because we have digital platforms, try and learn how different people do interviews that are considered high profile. And do not be too much of yourself. Have some humility, and you will be in a position to learn more and more. I mean, there are people, the news presenters I watch, and I tell my students, you can actually watch this. Like Mehdi Hassan of Al Jazeera, like Stephen Saka of the BBC. The people who ask hard questions, but they ask it in a way that it doesn't offend whoever it is they're trying to have a discussion with.
Okay.
Yes.
And then finally, when it comes to content, what should we be putting out there? Like, what would you advise people in this people in the newsroom right now in this digital era? What kind of content should we be putting out there? You've said no politics. Okay, no, there is politics.
I've not said.
Yeah, there is politics, but
just distort the inverted pyramid. Distort it to focus at least a point where politics will come, will rank lower in the inverted pyramid, and focus on things that have direct impact on the people you're serving, on the people you say you have the right to give information. Yeah.
Parting shot?
Parting shot is we still need to train journalists, whether in digital or traditional. Training is a critical aspect in terms of ensuring our journalism is professional and follows the ethical code, and that will make our journalists be celebrated globally.
Okay. Yeah. David, thank you very much for your time. Ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of the show. This has been Newsroom. Remember, coming up is Matukio Nyanjani with one Paul Kirobi. We will have in subsequent bulletins our reporters well situated all over the city who will be giving us updates on what's happening within the hours. And also tomorrow, don't forget to join me same place, same time. We're going to be featuring women from Uasin Gishu County. It being a Wednesday, we always feature the women. And we're celebrating these mothers who will be taking their very first flight all the way from Uasin Gishu coming to Nairobi CBD, and they'll be gracing this show here. And we'll talk more on that when we come here tomorrow, same place, same time. It's been wonderful staying with us. I'll see you tomorrow. I'm Angie Wangeshi. Goodbye. Hata ulilala.
Twende sasa.
Nipe countdown. 2, 1.
Nakuletea matangazo moja kwa moja kutoka kongamano la 6 la ugatuzi hapa Kirinyaga County.
Hapa ni mjini Meru.
Tupo katika eneo la Wetavia County ya Kiambu.
Hivi leo tuko Nairobi Cinema.
Hapa ni Kina, ukipenda Kinango.